Bill in County Durham, hi.
Hi, Jeremy. All right?
All right, now was your dad a famous wrestler as well? Because
No, he wasn't.
we're ready for anything today.
Yes.
So do you think Charles is right to say, I'm sorry, we can't put you up?
Absolutely not. It's pathetic. He's pathetic. I mean, it's unbelievable that a son who's in line for the throne, who fought for 10 years in Afghanistan for this country, who loves this country, the only royal who's fought in Afghanistan, all the rest with the chocolate medals on, when they parade through the street, it's pathetic.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he is the king's son. If he can't get protection when the likes of these politicians get round-the-clock protection, it's unbelievable. And Harry, as a decent man, obviously he's been attacked from all angles of the press, of the media, and Charles is tied up with the media. And at the end of the day, it's come back on Harry. And to say he can't stay in Buckingham Palace with all them rooms is absolutely, makes Charles look even more pathetic.
Yeah, I wonder whether he's taken advice. It's almost what you were saying.
It's bad PR.
Yeah.
So from a business and a family perspective, I don't understand this decision.
Well, I think they've got to try and get Harry back as well, because I think it's like we're going back to football again, where they're only playing 7 players. They've lost, the central defence, and Andrew's obviously benched for probably 1,000 years. Yeah, he's not going to play again.
Yeah.
Also, I suppose to continue the analogy, we've got Princess Anne has fallen over the hoarding.
Yeah.
Well, because she's not as active as she was, though she's the hardest working.
I just think people can't relate as well. I'm at that stage where the kids are spreading their wings, and I'm so happy when they decide to check in and come to mum's. It's like, I just love having them there. I can't imagine being in a world where it got to this. It's so sad.
That was Bill. Bill from County Durham, a man who picked up the phone, got through to the Jeremy Vine show, and proceeded to deliver the most devastatingly accurate, most completely unvarnished, most thoroughly satisfying royal commentary of the entire year, without the slightest apparent concern for whose feelings he might be inconveniencing. It's pathetic. He's pathetic. Bill from County Durham, ladies and gentlemen, the man who woke up one morning, looked at what King Charles has done to his own son, and decided that the diplomatic phrasing could stay at home today because it was not going to cover the situation adequately. And here is the thing about Bill's assessment. It is just accurate, uncomfortably, completely, with receipts, accurate. And the fact that it sounds so devastating is not because Bill was being extreme. It is because the situation is extreme, and someone finally said so on national television without padding it in careful language. Let's make sure everyone watching this is fully clear on what Bill was responding to, because context matters. And the context is, and I want to be precise here, absolutely wild. Prince Harry is in the UK. He traveled alone. The King of England, the man who has spoken publicly and repeatedly about family, about healing, about being a grandfather, about the environment, about compassion, about all the things that make for a very impressive speech, could not find space in Buckingham Palace for his own son. Buckingham Palace, which has, depending on which count you use, somewhere in the region of 775 rooms. 775. Harry needed not 775 rooms, not a wing, not a floor, just somewhere, some arrangement, some indication from his father that his son, coming to the country while facing 6 documented terrorist threats, 5 of them originating in Britain, was a situation that warranted something warmer than a formal decline. 775 rooms. And the answer was no. Bill from County Durham processed this information and arrived with admirable efficiency at pathetic. Bill is correct. He fought for 10 years in Afghanistan for this country. He's the only royal who's fought in Afghanistan, all the rest with their chocolate medals. Bill. Bill. The man just called in and said what has needed to be said in public, loudly on a mainstream television program for years. Chocolate medals. Let that phrase sit with you for a moment, because it is doing extraordinary work. Because the royal family has, and this is a documented, observable, entirely verifiable reality, a robust tradition of military involvement in the ceremonial sense. The uniforms, the regalia, the impressive decorations, the formal ranks and titles, and the association with military tradition that the institution cultivates carefully because it connects the monarchy to service and sacrifice in ways that generate public respect and goodwill. The appearances at military ceremonies, the inspections, the honorary colonencies and the ceremonial roles, and the presence at parades where the uniforms are magnificent and the medals catch the light and everyone looks tremendously impressive. And then there is Harry, who actually went, who actually served 2 tours in Afghanistan as a forward air controller on the first, flying Apache attack helicopters on the second, in actual combat, in actual danger, not performing military association for the camera, but being in a war zone with the specific, unglamorous, genuinely life-threatening reality that the word war zone contains. He was specifically named in an al-Qaeda assassination document because of his service, not because he wore a nice uniform at a parade, because he was there. And the institution that claims military service as one of its core values, that wraps itself in the symbolism of sacrifice and duty and the men and women who serve, has looked at the one member of the immediate royal family who actually served in combat and decided that he does not deserve adequate security in his own country. And at the end of the day, he is the king's son. If he can't get protection when the likes of these politicians get around-the-clock protection, it's unbelievable. Pause here, because this is the argument that should have been years ago, the center of the entire security conversation. Politicians receive protection not because they have served in combat, not because they have founded international humanitarian organizations, not because they have been specifically named in terrorist documents obtained by the FBI, because they hold political office, because the assessment is made that their role warrants state-funded security regardless of the specific documented threat level, because the principle is that people in certain positions should not have to worry about whether their protection is adequate. That principle exists. It is applied consistently to politicians, to certain public figures, to people whose connection to the state is considerably less direct than the son of the monarch. And it is not applied to Harry, a man 5th in line to the throne, a veteran of 2 combat tours, a person with 6 documented terrorist plots against him, 5 originating in Britain, an al-Qaeda assassination document, 250 potential stalkers with specific threat behavior toward his family. The politicians get around-the-clock protection. Harry gets a liaison officer's phone number. Bill from County Durham has identified an inconsistency. It is a fairly significant one. And Charles is tied up with the media, and at the end of the day, it's come back on Harry. This is the sentence that is doing the most sophisticated analytical work in Bill's entire call, and it deserves more attention than it received in the flow of the conversation. Because Bill is identifying something structural, something that goes beyond Charles made a bad decision and into the territory of Charles is operating within a system that shapes and constrains his decisions in ways that consistently produce the same outcome. The monarchy's relationship with the British tabloid media is not a secret. It is documented. It is the subject of books and documentaries and legal proceedings and the specific, detailed first-person accounts of multiple people who have navigated it from the inside. Access journalism, the arrangement by which certain outlets receive favorable access to the institution in exchange for favorable coverage of it. The unwritten understanding that the institution can shape narratives by feeding certain stories to certain outlets, and that those outlets will receive and publish those stories because the alternative, losing access, is commercially unacceptable. This system produces outcomes. Specifically, it produces the outcome that people who challenge the institution, who speak publicly about their experiences, who pursue legal action against publications the institution has relationships with, who refuse to play the game by the established rules, find themselves on the wrong end of the machine. Harry and Meghan challenged the institution. And the machine, the same machine Bill is identifying when he says Charles is tied up with the media, has been running against them ever since. Not randomly, not incidentally, as a direct structural consequence of the relationship between the palace and the press, and the mutual interest both have in maintaining arrangements that reward compliance and punish dissent. Bill, from County Durham, understood this intuitively. Most people who have watched this situation carefully for years have understood it. The difference is that Bill said it on national television at 11 in the morning like he was describing the weather. To say he can't stay in Buckingham Palace with all them rooms is absolutely makes Charles look even more pathetic. 775 rooms. I want to return to this number because it continues to be relevant, and I refuse to let it go without giving it its full moment. The palace has, and I am being entirely literal here, a swimming pool, a cinema, a ballroom large enough to host 240 dinner guests, a post office, a police station, 40 acres of garden, staff quarters, guest quarters, historic staterooms, private apartments, the accumulated architectural achievement of an institution that has been operating continuously for centuries. Harry needed a room. Possibly two. He is the king's son. He is a veteran. He is in the country facing documented terrorist threats. He is traveling alone because his security situation for his family has not been resolved. He is not arriving with a touring party or a production crew or demands for a particular brand of bottled water in every room. He needed somewhere to stay. And the answer from the palace with 775 rooms was not here. The optics of this decision are so comprehensively bad that even the other panelists on the Jeremy Vine show, people who are not exactly known for radical Sussex advocacy, were sitting there going, not a good look and bad PR, and I don't understand this decision. When the moderate, careful, let's be fair to both sides' voices in a mainstream television conversation are struggling to defend a decision, the decision is indefensible. And Bill from County Durham walked in before any of the careful moderates had a chance to find the right framing and just said, pathetic. I just love having them there. I can't imagine being in a world where it got to this. It's so sad. There it is. The whole thing reduced to its human core. Because all the politics, all the security committee language, all the procedural frameworks and institutional processes and RAVEC decisions and palace spokesperson statements, at the bottom of all of it is a family. A grandfather who has not seen his grandchildren in 3 years. A father traveling alone because his family cannot safely come with him. I can't imagine being in a world where it got to this. And the honest answer is that most people cannot. Because most people, when there is a family rift, when there is distance, when there is pain, try to fix it. Use whatever resources are available. Make the phone call. Open the door. Find a room in the 775-room palace. Most people do not have the luxury of fixing it. Charles does. Is the choice that history will record. Not kindly. Bill from County Durham called into the Jeremy Vine show to make a point. He made it. Clearly, efficiently, without the diplomatic padding that allows uncomfortable truths to land softly enough that the people who need to hear them can find ways to not quite hear them. It's pathetic. He's pathetic. And then Bill presumably put down the phone and went about his day in County Durham, entirely unaware that he had accidentally become the clearest voice in the entire royal security conversation. Not because he said anything that people who have been watching this situation carefully did not already know, but because he said it plainly, out loud on national television without asking anyone's permission. The tide is turning. Not in the dramatic, overnight, everything changes at once way that makes for satisfying narrative, in the Bill from County Durham way. One phone call at a time, one person from one ordinary place looking at an extraordinary situation and saying, this is wrong, this is pathetic, he deserves better. He fought for this country, he is the king's son. Where are the rooms? Harry is here. He showed up, despite the 6 plots and the unarmed security and the decline from the palace and the family that will not or cannot do what it would take to make this easier. He showed up for his veterans, for Invictus, for the cause, for the work, because that is who he is, and no amount of palace politics or security committee bureaucracy or royal PR management or chocolate medals on parade changes that. Bill from County Durham knows it, we know it, and eventually, even the 775-room palace is going to have to reckon with it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.